Alright. Let's continue on. This is not the turn of events I had expected, sitting in my parents' cabin, being scolded by a very rich man surrounded by aliens. You should be thankful we were able to scrub out the other video someone uploaded, which had the 2 extraterrestrials in clear view, Neil says with a stern sigh. You can't get rid of the other video? I ask, hopeful. Eric matches Neil's heavy sigh. It's been reposted hundreds of times on a lot of mirror websites. There's no way we can do anything about it now. It's out on the internet forever. I just want to bury myself in a hole and die. I can't believe I let myself get caught like that. I've been careful my entire life. You haven't even been back for a full week, and yet you're already out there, face plastered on every social device. Neil reprimands me. How do you do it? To make such a colossal mistake. You were supposed to keep a low profile, not start a campaign under Super Mall Girl. He starts to rant. Well, first off, that name is ridiculous, and second of all, I didn't mean to get caught. I explain myself. You use your powers in public without anything to hide your identity behind, Neil stresses. Now we're forced to have you under house arrest too. What? I shriek, house arrest? We can't have you out in public. We'll have to wait until this blows over or until the next interesting development happens. It's too risky for you to be recognized. So you're saying I'm stuck here? I can't even go to my boutique? Neil nods. That is correct. You can't keep her here locked forever, you know. You can't keep her locked here forever, you know, warns Eric. Neil rubs his temple. Look, we're all trying to minimize the consequences. It's best if Miss Hearth remains out of the public eye until the video has been forgotten about. Imagine if Miss Hearth had paparazzi following her, then what? They'd find the lake, the cabin, and the 2 very secret extraterrestrials that we're hiding. He shakes his head. No, we can't let that happen. I understand. I don't like it, but I do get his grievances. Reporters following me around and finding out where the cabin is located is a very real possibility. I can't believe I returned to Earth only to be locked up again, I mumble darkly. Eric furrows his eyebrows at that, contemplating what I've said. She can at least go out to the store, right? He asks. No, Neil says steadfastly. Oh, come on. She needs to eat and drink too, you know, Eric argues. For the time being, it'll be your job to take care of your sister so that she doesn't leave the premises. He stares at me, eyes narrowing. That includes the extraterrestrials. It's too dangerous to move them around. They must be kept here at all times as well. Great. I guess I screwed it up for everyone. So much for getting Eok glamour so that he could hide in plain sight. Now he's not even allowed to leave the lake. No, does that mean Eok's gonna go back to his lizard? No, he has to wear the dress. Do you understand, Miss Hearth? He asks in a loud voice. I begrudgingly nod. Fine, I admit. I won't go out in public for a while. There's a look of satisfaction on Neil's face. I believe you should remain out of the public until we have to deal with the upcoming invasion. No one will care about Super Mall Girl by then. He wants me to remain inside for 2 months. I groan loudly in despair. Neil fixes his jacket and straightens his back. Now, Mr. Hearth, please do check your email. My engineers are awaiting your response to a problem they encountered with your bracelet. I've been kind of busy here, Eric mumbles, but I'll answer today. Very well. I believe we have discussed everything. Neil turns to me. I don't want to hear any more trouble coming from you. I have this strong urge to stick out my tongue to him. I'm not actively being troublesome. Have a good day. He bids his goodbye and finally leaves the cabin. Eric sighs loudly as he crashes on the couch. Can't believe now you're stuck here too. Back on Yule, I couldn't leave the palace, and now here I'm under house arrest as well. James finally opens his mouth, having been quiet this entire time, listening in on us. You barely followed the rules in the palace. I doubt you'd follow the rules here either. He states his point. Nothing seems to stop you from going out, he finishes. No, they can't force me to stay inside, but I'd be foolish if I didn't. Didn't seem to stop you last time, James points out, squinting his eyes at me. I mean, if it weren't for the rebels, I probably would have gotten away with it, I grumble. The first time you go out and you're caught. Not the best track record, Eok adds. Hey, you're the one I ran into. Eok grins widely. I have a lot of experience going undercover. Eric worms himself into the conversation. Okay, I've had it up to here with your alien language. If you refuse to speak English, then at least let me take a look at your translator. Eric approaches Eok, a screwdriver ready in his hand. Me? Eok's eyes grow large. You said it was in your ear, right? If I can study it, I can reverse engineer it, no problem. Eric, can you please not experiment on my friend? I ask exasperatedly. Can't you go back to trying to open that door? I can multitask, he answers. If that little runt can understand our technology, I will be very impressed, says James with a sly voice, like he obviously doesn't believe Eric is intelligent enough to figure out his tech. I don't know what he said, but I don't like the look of it on his smug face, Eric grumbles, glaring at James. You know what? Go ahead. Eok, please go with my brother. 1 minute. Ugh, maybe he'll figure something out. I guess my lap wasn't good enough for him. Eok looks hesitant but doesn't question my command. Alright, I'll help out, he answers Eric. Great, follow me. Eric quickly escorts Eok towards his room, which is his temporary office. That leaves just me and James in the same room together. Earth is a very backwards place if you can't even catch a common thief without repercussions, says James in a dismissive tone. It's a little more complicated than that, I reply. He's not wrong, though. The fact I tried to stop a thief from taking my own money and I'm the one that has to lay low doesn't seem fair at all. It was nice seeing you and Eok work together, though, I say with a small smile. Despite the animosity between them, James was quick to command Eok to catch the thief. Almost bashfully, James turns his head away from me. That's because he's a trained soldier. He will do what I command of him. Well, it was still nice to see you work together. Thank you for catching the thief, I say, feeling grateful they stepped in. A small stretch of silence weaves between us. Then James moves, getting ready to speak. I did notice your reflexes seem to have improved since the last time you were met with a sharp weapon. There's a smirk on his lips, which kind of irritates me. Sounds like you're impressed. James cocks an eyebrow at me, merely stating the difference. You can just admit I dodged that like a pro, I say, a sly smile appearing on my lips. Pro? James repeats in an odd accent. Short for professional. Basically, I'm saying I dodged it like an expert. I wouldn't say that maneuver of yours was unexpertly at all, he huffs. Yeah, all I'm hearing is that you're impressed. I continue to stress my point with an ever-growing grin. He lets out an indignant puff of air, glaring at me as if he's perfected it like an art form. No, I was not, he argues back. Thanks for the compliment. Did you not hear what I said? He raises his voice. Loud and clear. You were impressed. I'm having fun messing with him. I need to do something with my house arrest time, after all. James turns on his heel and stomps towards the front door. Where are you going? I ask, a little sad he doesn't want to bicker anymore. To train. He swiftly disappears and slams the door shut. So he was impressed by my actions. Please don't screw it up, I warn Eric. Eric dangles in front of me with a pair of scissors, staring at my forehead with the utmost concentration. I wouldn't dare. You know my fingers can do extraordinary feats, he boasts. Yes, with technology, not with hair, I stress. Don't you worry about a thing. I just need to snip a bit here. He takes a cut of my hair. And here, another snip. And there we go. I blow air at my new bangs to remove them from my eyes. Give me the mirror. Eric hands me a small hand mirror and I grab it with my greedy hands. I need to know if it looks good. I see myself reflected. My once uneven do-it-yourself haircut now looks like a straight bob with cute bangs. They don't look out of place at all. I smile up at Eric and squeal. It looks cute. Eric suavely rubs his chin, eyes closed. Did you ever doubt my skills? He says arrogantly. All the time, I reply with a laugh. Hey now, I'm doing this for free, you know. Well, that's because I can't go to town to get a haircut anymore, I complain. It's already been 2 days since the Super Mole Girl incident and I'm slowly losing my mind having to stay inside. No, he's a lizard again. Eok enters the kitchen, looking like his usual self again after removing the glamour. He seems happier like this. Hey Eok, look, I say excitedly. Eok, eyes wide and large, starts looking around the room. What is it? He asks. I point at my hair, a little disappointed he didn't notice it straight away. My hair, I say. Yes, hairy. Eric bursts out laughing, earning a glare on my end. Dude, you're supposed to compliment her new hairstyle. Ah, Eok looks distraught. Gout don't have hair. It's a foreign concept to me. I pout at him, but forgive him as well. It's alright, I reassure him. If they don't have it, wouldn't it be even more obvious when someone else has it and then they change it? Also, what is dude? He asks a bit awkwardly. Eric starts explaining what dude means to Eok. He's already managed to reverse engineer the babblefish and created his own. He can now follow along with our conversations. Sometimes I wonder why I didn't inherit any of his brain powers. I push the newly acquired hairband in my hair and look in the mirror once more. It's cute. I look a bit younger like this. I wonder why longer hair makes you seem more mature. As I look around the room, I start wondering if James is still outside training, like he's been doing every single day. Eok, you were training with James, right? Yes, Prince James wants the both of us on a strict training regimen. It's interesting how, despite him thinking you betrayed him, he's still training you. Eok smiles, hee hee. Perhaps he doesn't dislike me as much as he says he does. He's not very honest, is he? I say with a giggle. Not honest, Eric repeats with an indignant scoff. That man has brutal honesty written all over his face. People who say they're brutally honest are people who tend to hide their feelings, I explain. I don't think he's even capable of feelings, Eric remarks. I direct my gaze towards the windows of the cabin, seeing a shimmer of James's shadow move back and forth. Not capable of feelings wouldn't be correct, not with what I've seen so far anyway. You know, both of you should take a break. Let me make you some lunch, I say. Eok perks up. Ooh, can I have another sandwich? Sandwich, I correct him. And yes, of course. Ever since arriving on Earth, Eok's been pretty happy trying out all the different kinds of foods available to him. He seems to be very fond of ham and cheese sandwiches. I start preparing their lunch. I step outside, holding a plate with a sandwich, a cup of hot chocolate. Wait, let me start over. I step outside, holding a plate with a sandwich and a cup of hot chocolate. It's a little warm to be drinking hot chocolate, but I wanted to see if James would enjoy such a beverage. That would be such a gap more if he does like it. James, I brought you lunch, I call out to the void. He's been training in between the trees, and despite wearing that bracelet, he still seems to possess superhuman speed. It's hard to keep track of him. He suddenly appears in front of me, nearly startling me off my balance and spilling some of the hot chocolate onto the grass. What is it? He says in this deadpan tone. Don't just appear in front of me like that, I grumble. I almost dropped your food. Ah, you've brought me provisions. His tone improves. Yes, I figured you should take a break from all this training you're doing. Whether I take a break is not up to you, he says, almost offended I would dare interrupt his training. Do you want the food or not? I say with a sigh. James wordlessly takes the sandwich from the plate and turns around, ignoring the cup of hot chocolate. I gasp in surprise when I see his back. James! He tilts his head to look over his shoulder, his mouth already stuffed with the sandwich. You ripped your pants! I cry out in annoyance. There's a huge gap in between the seams on his butt. It's like a giant fart blew a hole through his pants. James huffs as he tears off a piece of his sandwich, facing me once more. I already told you this garb isn't sufficient enough for training. You can't blame me for the flimsy material not holding up. I tried to control my own temper. Those were cargo pants meant for a lot of movement. It's been 2 days and he's already ruined them. Did he do constant splits or something to rip them like this? I don't even know. I can fix it though, but he can't use them anymore during training, otherwise the same thing will happen again. Fine, I say begrudgingly. I'll make you something myself. Training garments? He asks. A supersuit you can use to fight in. Like I said, it's my specialty. I just need to get the materials from my boutique. I start sketching out several ideas in my head about the kind of outfit I should design him, and that I should get Eric or Kim to pick up some fabric from my store, since I can't leave myself. I'll need to measure you later on, I tell him. Would black be a good choice? Perhaps I should incorporate some static-resistant fabric, since he seems to be weak to electricity. I would also need to take into account that he can fly, so the design would have to be streamlined for aviation. Oh wait, I forgot. He can't fly at the moment. You have that look in your eyes again, says James, disturbing me from my thoughts. Huh? What look? The same look you had right before disobeying orders, as if you're planning something. Is there something wrong with the way I look? I raise my eyebrows at him. James munches on a piece of the sandwich before swallowing to reveal a smirk. It's the look of excitement at being challenged. I know it all too well. I really can't tell if he's making fun of me or if he's, I don't know, slightly impressed. James then finally notices the cup in my hands. Is that water? He asks. No, it's hot chocolate. Please be careful, it's hot. I tell him and offer the cup like the name suggests. It's a tea? As he sniffs at the contents. Not exactly. It's a sweet beverage served hot. Sweet, you say? He repeats, sounding a little forlorn. Eyeing the cup with a suspicious look, James finally takes a sip. I can see his Adam's apple bob up and down as he swallows, which makes me think how alike our bodies are. I expect James to savour the taste after a single sip, but he downs the entire cup in one go. Weirdly enthralled, I can't help but stare at him. Did he like it? Was it good? I ask. He returns the empty cup to me as if I'm some kind of servant. You can bring me more of these hot chocolates, he states. I sigh internally. What kind of way is that to ask for another cup? I would, if you'd ask me nicely. I bring up the notion, and it's pronounced chocolate. Are you unsatisfied with my way of speaking? He asks, sounding almost legitimately offended. Yes, I reply quickly and without pause. It clearly perturbs him as James raises both his eyebrows at me. If you like the drink, then you could have asked for another. I did exactly that, he points out gruffly. No, you did not, I fire back. That wasn't a question at all. You told me to give you more, but you didn't ask. Why are you being so pedantic and difficult about my request? He growls. All I'm asking for is just a little bit of respect. You can ask me things, but don't presume I'll do them for you like you're the boss running things here, okay? I'm not backing down. I've been trying to accommodate both him and Eok, but he can be such a pain in the ass. All I want is some respect, not to be commanded around. Respect goes both ways, Earthling, he finally says after a long pause. For sure, you won't be receiving mine for as long as you refuse to call me by my name, I huff. I'm not here to socialize or mingle with Earthlings. I'm going to train to prepare for Lord Veritas' arrival. Well, believe it or not, we are all you've got, so you better accept that us Earthlings are your only help and treat us with some respect, or what? He urges me on. Just ask me for another cup next time, okay? I don't want to argue about this anymore. I take the cup and plate with me as I turn around and head back inside the cabin. What a dick. When is he going to get better? I'm so tired of him. Sprawled across the couch with my phone in my hands, I scroll through the various comments. You would think that after a few days, the hype around my little slip-up would die down. Except all the social media I've been browsing online, I'm everywhere. I can't blame Forrester Inc. for not being able to scrub the video, it's impossible. At this point, I've been turned into various memes. The worst part is reading all the hate comments too. The normies that hate supers. Julio supporters, in a sense. I feel like such activity has increased since I've been away. Stop looking at that crap, your brain will fall out, says Eric as he pulls my phone out of my hands. Hey, I was reading that, I complain weakly. Yes, and it was making you nearly burn a hole through your screen for glaring at it, glaring so much at it. You can't blame me for checking, I say. You should not only be under house arrest, but also social media arrest. Stop looking it up. But what else do I have to do? I whine. Nothing! My fabric isn't even here, so I can't make any clothes either. Kim's coming over to drop by some of your stuff. You can survive another day, says Eric as he narrows his eyes at me, almost disappointed in the way I'm behaving. I pout at him and then nudge my foot against his leg. Kane told me you went crazy, by the way. He's lying, obviously. I've always been a nutcase. I giggle. I mean, when I was taken, he said you barely slept. Oh, a grim expression washes over his face. He takes in a heavy breath. I'm just glad you're back. He shoots me a small smile. Yeah, I nod at him. Same. If you have nothing else to do, you can help me with that door, he suggests with a grin. Oh, give it a rest. It's just some smelly basement anyway. Probably has got mold growing as well. Never give up, never surrender, he exclaims loudly. Eok suddenly enters the house. Oh, hey, Eok. I greet him. Are you both finished with training? You hungry? Yes, definitely hungry, he says in agreement. I guess training works up quite an appetite. They've been going at it since this morning. Where's James? I ask, noticing Eok came alone. He went to train near the lake on his own, he mentions. He shivers and shakes his head. I don't like large bodies of water, so I stayed near the house. I haven't seen him since. Eric and I look at each other. Did James... Nah, he couldn't have gone far. The alarms would have set off. Remember, he's being tracked, says Eric quickly with a huff of air. Right, then where is he? I ask, looking outside the window. It's already dark, but I can still see just fine. However, when I scan the lake, I don't see any sign of James. As I pull out my phone, I launch the app for the tracker to see where he is. A map of our surroundings appears on my screen with 3 dots. One of them being me, Eok's next to mine, and the other dot all the way near the edge of the forest. He's nearly at the edge of the perimeters, I say, sounding alarmed. What's he doing there? Oh, maybe he's lost? It is dark outside and James isn't familiar with this place yet, not to mention he can't fly. Not to mention you can point him one way and he'll think you mean to go the other way. I'm gonna get him, okay? Then we can all eat dinner. Without waiting for a response, I leave the cabin. Hoo-hoo. He should be straight ahead, according to this app. The GPS isn't entirely accurate, though, so I have to use my own eyes to find him. I tuck my phone away. I step through the grass, peering through the trees to spot a certain man. My eye catches a shimmer. It's the shine of his jet-black hair, reflecting in the moonlight. He's looking around, eyes focused. Before I can announce myself, James has suddenly appeared in front of me and pushed me up against the tree. Excuse me, sir? Hey, what's the deal? I complain, suddenly aware how his body is pressed against mine. He's not hurting me, though. James removes himself from me and steps away. You were sneaking up on me, he says. You should have announced yourself. I was about to until you shoved me against this tree. Better safe than sorry. What would you have done if it wasn't me, huh? You know you can't hurt humans, I point out. One slip-up and he can kill the both of us. I didn't hurt you now, did I? He fires back. No, I admit begrudgingly. He did scare me, though. What are you doing out here anyway? I ask, changing the subject. Training, he replies nonchalantly. This far out? I question. I was exploring. You couldn't find your way back to the cabin, could you? I ask in this dull tone. James turns defensive, crossing his arms over his naked chest and huffing loudly at me. I do not get lost. I am perfectly capable of locating the house, he says crossly. Uh-huh, I hum dryly, not believing a word he says. Can you point in the direction of the house, then? A cricket chirps in the background. James doesn't make a move. I only see his eyebrows furl more and more. He then points directly at me. It's in that direction. I tilt my head to the side as I bite back my smug grin. You're just pointing in that direction because you think that's where I came from, aren't you? Well, am I right or not? He urges me, sounding impatient. I point to my right instead. It's actually over there. James clicks his tongue. I came to pick you up. It's really late. Let's go have dinner. I smile at him as I start to move. Come on, follow me. Don't get lost. I do not get lost, he hisses. I chuckle in response as he obediently follows me. It would be unbefitting of me as a captain and as a prince to have lost my way, he speaks. Actually, I start looking over at him, it would make you pretty human. I am Rahu. What is it again? Rahu. Not an earthling like you. Don't compare us. How can I not? We do seem similar, you know. Have you met many species that look like me? Aside from Gila Bilius's race, I have not come across many species that resemble earthlings, he answers me. I drag my feet through the slightly damp grass, slowing my pace so that I walk next to James. What about your own race? Are there others like you out there? He's quiet again, not answering as the sound of rustling grass fills my ears. Then I suddenly remember what he said to me on the ship before. His home planet doesn't exist anymore. A sense of dread washes over me. I didn't mean to sound insensitive. I was genuinely very curious. I'm about to apologize when James speaks up first. As far as I know, my siblings and I are the only survivors. It's an interesting choice of word. Survivors. You're the last of your kind, I ask. That is why I must protect Lana, he says, determined in his plans. You know, I think I can understand the way you feel, I say, thinking out loud here. And I don't mean the bit about being the only ones left. I can't possibly imagine what that's like. But the desire to protect your siblings. I get it. It seems when you took me from Earth, my brother Eric did everything he could to get me back. He didn't quite build a spaceship, but he was the one that invented the machine that launched a missile to attack your ship. James looks a little surprised. Are you saying your own brother willingly shot at you? No, he's just the person that invented it. Apparently it was Neil Forrester that gave that command. You know, the man with the slick purple hair? Good to know who is responsible for blowing a hole in my quarters. I admit, I would like to slap him for that. Because of that blast, we were launched into open space without any sort of protection. I literally could have died if I didn't have my ability. The corner of James's lips tilt up into a smirk. Condoning violence, are you now? We could have died because of him, I say through gritted teeth. It is quite impressive that you remained calm enough to survey the situation and react in a timely manner, given the circumstances. My mouth drops open as I unabashedly stare at James. Was that a compliment? I ask incredulously. Is he on the... I think that's just a sound from the game. I suppose it can be taken as one. I'm temporarily speechless. I'm having a civilized conversation with James, who's been nothing but a stubborn and oversized brat all this time. Not that I haven't been fanning the flames as well, but I didn't expect this level of politeness. I wasn't really thinking, I say, suddenly feeling flustered. I just reacted. That is a very good skill to have. Sometimes it is better to act first than to think. Every second counts. I passed out at the end, though. I don't know what happened afterwards. Once I got a hold of the exterior of the ship, I quickly found us an exit that wasn't destroyed. I brought us inside. I guess we both saved each other there. If it weren't for me, we'd still be spinning around in space. But if it weren't for James, we would have died either way if he didn't get us inside. Thank you, I speak up. James raises an eyebrow at me. I realize I haven't properly thanked you for saving my life. Yeah, but he wouldn't... It's very nice of you. You're a very lovely girl, Valkii. But he wouldn't have to apologize. or save your life if he didn't kidnap you in the first place, like a crazy person. He shakes his head in response. You are very peculiar, thanking the one who took you from your own home and had every intention of using you as a pawn in negotiations. Thank you, James. What the fuck? These were different circumstances, I point out. Just take my thanks, alright? As you wish. His feet stop dead in their tracks, and I turn around to see him standing underneath the moonlight, staring up at the sky. Only one moon, he muses out loud. Maybe he misses Yule, I wonder. It has 2 moons. Do you miss it? I ask him. No, he says. My home planet only had 1 moon as well. I see. We both gaze up at the moon for a while, not saying anything. It feels serene, almost comfortable, and James is going to ruin it. Then his brown eyes lock with mine. I think I would like a chocolate. Oh, chocolates. He's not ruining it. He's actually asking. Well, kind of. My lips curl into a smile. I would like to point out it wasn't so hard to ask, but instead I nod at him. Sure, I'll make you a cup of hot chocolate. I start walking again in the direction of the cabin, and James follows suit. Did you like it? I ask, remembering that he seemed to down the entire cup in one go. It has an earthy but sweet taste, he explains. Yule doesn't have anything sweet. Gout don't have the capacity for tasting it. Actually, I don't remember tasting anything sweet either, I say, remembering mostly savoury flavours. Eok didn't seem very overjoyed at the cup of hot chocolate either. I guess it's because he couldn't taste the sweetness and only the bitterness. I was definitely craving some chocolate back on Yule. You were, I admit. There's a relaxed expression on James's face. It has been a while since I could taste anything sweet. I had nearly forgotten what it was like. Oh, he looks happy. We have a bunch of sweet food and drinks here on Earth, I say excitedly. Chocolate is very popular, but we also have candy, which is pretty much hardened sugar most of the time. Sugar? James repeats. Sugar, I correct him. It's an ingredient we use to make things sweet. Sometimes people eat it plain as well. What the fuck? There was this plant on my planet, he starts. When it would blossom, it would shed its sweet petals. That's what we used in our dishes. It's actually very interesting to hear about his planet. It sounds a lot different from Yule. What was your planet called? I ask. We were the royal family of the planet Vartus, says James, a hint of a smile on his lips. Lana was going to be the next queen. Oh my god, it's matriarchal. I nod in agreement. Unless she's the eldest. Yeah, I was going to say unless she's the eldest. I see. Well, she's the eldest after all. That behaviour of yours, he suddenly mentions. What behaviour? James nods his head. That. You've been doing it more frequently since your return. I guess I have been. Oh, the nodding? I guess I have been. Now that I'm back among people again, it's hard to ignore my own body language. As I've told you before, it's how us humans communicate with our body that we're saying yes, or are in agreement with something. James suddenly takes a bow in front of me, eyes locked on mine every step of the way. That is how we are taught to respectfully say yes. He straightens his back. I suppose your way is a more shortened and informal version. Oh, I guess you could say that. I have recounted many times that the people of Yule bowed in front of others. Our conversation lulls to a stop again, but it isn't an awkward silence this time around. It feels nice that we got to have a conversation like 2 civilized adults. I learned a little bit more about James and where he's from, and that he apparently has a sweet tooth. I start thinking of all the candy I would like him to try out. A faint shimmer of light catches my attention. We're nearly at the cabin. Look, we're almost there, I say, sounding excited. It's almost like I'm looking forward to having dinner with everyone and making James a cup of hot chocolate. I'm not paying attention to what's beneath me and accidentally stumble over an exposed Drew. Oh, here we go. It's going to catch us. He's going to catch us. James is there in an instant, his chest pressed up against my back and his hand curled around my waist to stabilize me. Careful, he whispers near my ear. Damn, he's being so, nice today. What the fuck? Badum. I'm suddenly feeling very self-conscious in this position. I'm hyper-aware of his heartbeat and the way he gently holds my wrist. It's like he's learned to control his brute strength around me, knowing just enough to catch me without actually hurting me this time around. Can't even spit out a word of thanks. My breath is caught in my throat. James releases his grip on me, taking a step back. The hum of his heartbeat fades away. You've cut your hair, he says. Subconsciously, I immediately start fanning my fingers through my hair as I feel myself grow a bit nervous. Why is he suddenly being so observant? Even Eok didn't notice. It's catching me off guard. Yes, I say slowly. My brother cut it. I clear my throat. Perhaps he can cut yours too? James narrows his eyes at me. I am still not trusting anyone to get near me with a blade, he huffs stubbornly. I sigh as he walks past me towards the cabin that's finally in range. Don't worry, James. I'm going to cut that hair of yours one way or another. Maybe bribe him with some sugar. It's here! Kim dropped off all my stuff in boxes the next day. Now I can actually make a supersuit for James. Can you please move all this stuff to your room? It's a chaotic mess in here, Eric complains as he walks around the various boxes. I will, I promise him. You just focus on whatever it is you're doing with that basement door. I walk towards the front door and open it, sticking my head outside. James! I yell loudly. Please come inside. I close the door and start grabbing a box from the floor. Not a second later, and James walks in, brushing a hand through his unruly hair. Why are you interrupting my training session? He demands to know. I need your help carrying this stuff to my room, and I will need to take your measurements as well. James narrows his eyes at the boxes on the floor. This couldn't wait? Is it really such a pressing matter? Look, the sooner we get this done, the sooner you actually have pants that don't rip every time you try to kick, alright? James doesn't seem like he's going to argue with me on that one. The pants he's wearing has already been stretched and torn to its limits. Pick up a box and carry it to my room, please, I ask of him as I head towards my room. James easily stacks a bunch of boxes on top of each other and hoists them onto his shoulder. His big, beefy shoulder. I clean my desk to make way for the box of materials. Just put them on the floor, thanks, I say, seeing James walk in with 4 boxes. Actually, I think he pretty much carried all of them to my room. There weren't that many boxes. I start rummaging through them. Don't need to say boxes that many times. Kim managed to pack all of my tools and most of my favourite fabrics. Lying awake at night, I couldn't help but brainstorm about his supersuit. Of course, he's not a superhero or anything, but a suit is a suit. I think I want to incorporate some of the intricate tribal markings he gets on his skin when he phases. It's then I realise James has been staring at me all this time. You've got that look again, he notes. I smile at him. Sorry, got lost in my head. I'm actually excited to do this. To make my armour. A supersuit, yes. It has to allow for freedom of movement, he states. I'm taking that into account, of course. Are there any specific requests you'd like? Such as? Well, some clients request built-in support for their breasts or a reinforced crotch area. I start to list off. James looks slightly horrified at that idea. As long as it doesn't weigh me down and doesn't tear when used a lot, it should be good. You don't want anything reinforced? Extra padding? Anti-electricity? His eyes turn into thin slits as I mention the last feature. I sketched out some designs last night. Do any of these catch your attention? I take my sketchbook and flip through it to find the sketches. James takes it from my hands and studies the pages with genuine interest. I feel slightly nervous. I always do whenever I show someone my work. He then flips the sketchbook over and taps his finger against one of the designs. This one, he says, pointing at a black and white suit with blue markings. You got it wrong. Huh? I say, confused. There are 2 wings on each side with 3 dots beneath. He's referring to me trying to recreate his markings in the sketch. Oh, I was trying to do it from memory, I say sheepishly. I take a pencil from my desk and offer it to him. You can correct it if you want. He takes a second to think it over before taking the pencil from my hand and putting it to the paper. I anxiously await in anticipation as James makes a few minor corrections on my designs. It's always weird when someone messes around with my designs. I'm slightly touched that he's taking it seriously, though. Here, he says, handing back my sketchbook. I look over the corrections he did on the design. There are now more intricate scribbles on the suit, reflecting his own markings. There are also a few extra lines near his legs and shoulders. I guess this is how he wants it. Do you want it like this? I ask, making sure. It seems suitable enough. Alright, time to take your measurements then. I stand in front of him and move a few boxes out of the way to make some space. I'm surprised when James takes off his shirt and rids himself of his pants. He didn't need to, but I guess that's out of the way now. Can you please spread your arm like this? I spread my arm away from my body. James mimics me, watching me very intensely as I get closer to him and press the tape against his shoulder, pulling it all the way over his wrist. I note down the numbers on my little notepad, then I quickly get the widths of his shoulders done as well. To be extra careful, I measure his biceps as well. Because Lord knows how big those things are. I throw the tape around him and tie it around his chest. Not too tight and not too loose. For some reason, my eyes stare at the large scar spanning across the right side of his chest. It seems old, which makes sense considering he must have gotten this when he was a child. It feels inappropriate to ask him where he got it from. Ah, there it is. The rhythm, the melody. I can hear it again. Each time I hear it, it becomes more pleasant, steady, and familiar. Is there something the matter? James asks, noticing I've been lingering at his chest. Awkwardly, I look away, feeling embarrassed at being caught listening to his heart. No, haha. I quickly release the tape around his chest and quickly note down the measurements. Again, you we don't need to use the word quickly twice. Just say I release. There's like so many different ways you can write letting go of something like sharply, like whew. Then you quickly note down the measurements. He's definitely got a well-defined body. I've had some pretty muscular clients before, but James's thickness has no rivals, that's for sure. I crouch down to measure his waist. I try my best to say professional, but this skin-on-skin contact with him is making me all jittery. Oh wait, didn't he have markings near his belly button as well? I wonder how far down it goes. To his penor. My eyes travel to his crotch. Would he have them there? Why would you do this? Like, I would be so uncomfortable. What the fuck? Do you need to measure my genitals as well? He asks in this deadpan voice. Why are you offering? I'm getting flustered now. I look up at him, my expression serious as I do not want to fall for his gloating. It's James who breaks our gaze as he tilts his head to the side. Shouldn't those be my words? You're the one that has attempted to seduce me many times, he says. I huff loudly and stand up straight, lifting up the tape so that it slides across his back all the way to his shoulders, eventually resting on his neck. I yank down, forcing him to face me at eye level. His brown eyes blink at our close proximity. If I was seducing you, then you definitely know, I say in this sultry tone. I lean closer, our faces side to side so I can whisper in his ear. Or is it really you who is trying to seduce me? I purr. Oh, he's blushing. We got him blushing. James straightens his back in a jiffy, snapping upright like a rigid stick. He creates some distance between us, and just before his black hair falls and covers his pointy ears, I notice they're tinged with red. So he can blush, that bastard. Just get back to measuring, he says gruffly. Feeling smug that his little comment backfired on him, I finally get the measurements of his waist. I try to do the rest on autopilot. It's hard not to get distracted, though. The more I measure him, the more I realize how different he's been from everyone else. But he's also extremely similar to the human race. Aside from his ears and sharp canines, I would say we're pretty identical. When I finally got everything noted down, I put away my measuring tape. Alright, I'm finished now, I announce. Is there anything else you need of me? He asks. Actually, I do have a question, I start. I'm immensely curious about the melody I keep hearing whenever I'm close to him. Does everyone of your race have the same heartbeat? I stare at his chest and subconsciously inch closer to him, wanting to hear it again. He tilts his head to the side. What do you mean? Can you hear... Oh, is there something special about that? Oh, that's so fucking interesting. I hope so. Finally! Eric, you bitch! I hear Eric shout, interrupting me and James. I walk towards my bedroom door and open it. Eric, why are you shouting? The basement! I finally got the door open! He yells triumphantly. I lean against the doorpost and smile. I guess I should go check it out. Hey, I'll see you in the next one.